microgreen quality control and food safety, and ensuring the excellence of professional operations. And just make sure, if you are not yet, make sure you subscribe to the channel. That way you can comment in the comments and ask questions. Also hit that like button, help get out to more people, and also share it to any groups or anybody else that you know would benefit from this, and help us get the word out about this ThumbCast. We really, really appreciate that. And we will be going over questions at the end of the show. We will definitely take 30 minutes or so at the end and do some questions and answer all of them for the members first of the ThumbCast, or the channel, I mean. And then any super chats that come in, we'll do them second. And then if we have time left, we'll do anybody that's not a member or hit a super chat. So if you want to ensure the best way to do that, make sure you join the membership as low as $2.99 a month. And we'll be doing a private live Q&A for members here in the next few days. So get in on that. So today we got Andy with us. Is going to be a co-host. Normally we also have Robert, but Robert's having connecting issues with some actual weather in Florida. So they're not used to that. So they have some connected issues. Maybe join us later on. So we'll see. But how are you doing, Andy?
Good, good. I apologize I wasn't here last week. I was actually on vacation for the first time in quite some time. So sorry to have missed the podcast last week, but it looked like it was awesome. I listened to it today.
Awesome. Good. Yeah. So normally ask how your week's went last week, but I'm sure it was great. So being on vacation for the most part.
It was very relaxing.
Good. It's good to finally be able to do that. So eventually you can be able to do that as a microgreen grower and growing a company. If you build it right, you can actually take a vacation at some point. So
yeah, it took a while to get here, but it was worth the effort.
You enjoyed it a little bit more then, right?
Yeah, oh, definitely. Yeah, and having good employees that I know can take care of business while I'm gone is definitely a huge key piece of it. So they did a great job.
Yep, get them trained correctly and get them rolling, right? Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So this is an important topic. I don't think people discuss enough. Safety, food safety, and quality control of the microgreens. You can grow a lot of microgreens, and I've seen them in bad microgreens, and probably not food safety with them, just knowing how they look. So we definitely want to go over that for a little bit of getting all the details of that and stuff for everybody. Why quality control and food safety matters in microgreens. Is it important to meet consumers' expectation and build trust? So what are your customers wanting? Make sure you got, that trust built up with them, what their expectations are. Do they want seed hulls on their sunflowers? Probably not. Yes, I've seen that in packages, seed hulls left on the sunflower. So that's not a great product. Right, Andy?
Yeah, no, we definitely spend the time pulling them off. It's an absolute joke if you're selling your sunflower with seed hulls on it. Somebody else is going to come along who isn't, and they're going to crush you in sales. So just do the job correctly the first time. The quality of your product is definitely key when you're doing this business for sure.
Yeah. And we were that company that came in and crushed the other person that was not doing that. So nice. Definitely do that. So quality matters tremendously when doing that. Talking about safety, potential health risks associated with poor quality, that seed hull still in there that's going to mold. It's going to create more issues for that product. So, and lack of food safety managers are going to impact your business reputation and long-term success. So obviously people may buy it one time, two times, but they keep getting bad products, they're not going to buy it. If it's molding, they're definitely not going to buy it again. You may have somebody come and say you got them sick, and you got to deal with that with your insurance and everything like that. Hopefully you have insurance. But in general, you shouldn't have to worry about that if you're growing great quality products. What do you think, Andy? Anything on that?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, and beyond just sunflower, obviously you've got other things that you can choose to keep seed hulls on. Like if you're growing onion, a lot of people will keep the seed hulls on just for that extra look. But like bull's blood beets or chard or something along those lines, I mean, they're hard as a rock. You don't want people biting into that stuff. And ultimately, if your product isn't great, and we experienced the same thing when we started getting into grocery stores. The first grocery store we got into, there was somebody in there that had product already. it didn't taste good, it didn't last nearly as long as ours. So ultimately, the higher quality your product is, the better you're going to be overall, not just to grocery stores, not just to subscriptions, but also to your restaurants, your distributors, things at that level. So it goes from top to bottom. And the biggest key thing is just remember you're growing food that people are going to eat and put in their bodies. So don't be cheap. Don't buy garbage seed, especially don't buy seed from Tractor Supply, that's meant for birds. Get the stuff that's meant for human consumption. Get good quality seed from quality, reputable seed manufacturers, and start there, and then work your way forward, and you'll be in good shape as long as you follow these practices we're going to go over today.
Yes, definitely do not buy from a feed store for your seeds. I see that, and I've seen people do it, and they're so much cheaper and everything else. It drives me crazy. That's not food safe. That is not what it's designed for. It's not what it is. So definitely do not do that. Get from Greener Harvest, get from Truly, get from Mums, Johnny's, get from a reputable supplier, like Andy said. That is highly, highly important. So, but yeah, food safety matters. Making sure you wash your hands before you harvest, wearing gloves while harvesting, cleaning your knives, all your equipment cleaned down and sanitized. All that little stuff is going to go up. Now, we put wash before eat on these products. I don't personally do that. And I know probably a lot of chefs are not, a lot of people that are buying the products are not. So we want to make sure they're as safe as possible before they go out the door. Andy, do you see that? Like, chefs definitely probably aren't going to clean these before they use them.
No, they aren't going to spend the time, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I mean, It's not really necessary if you grow them the right way. I mean, we plant our seeds right on top of the dirt, so they grow literally off the surface instead of pushing through soil at all. So they're clean from minute one. We cut them above the soil line. We make sure the knife doesn't touch the soil. If it does, we clean it off, and start over again. I mean, it's just part of the process. I mean, again, you're feeding people food, and ultimately, the last thing you want to do is have them get sick. And if a variety of people get sick as a result of bad practices across the country, guess what happens to the people who are doing it the right way? We get more regulations and more regulations and more regulations. So the last thing you want to do is create a bad industry and put a bad taste in people's mouths for microgreens, because ultimately that's going to cost everyone. So just do it the right way. Be clean about it. Be sanitized about it, and just quality is top. I mean, if you can produce a clean quality product, you'll be fine. Otherwise, if you're going to do it the cheapest way possible and buy garbage seed and not clean or sanitize your stuff, please don't start and please don't sell. Grow for yourself if you want. Not any further than that. Exactly. Just don't do it. It's going to cost everything for everybody else. So just do it the right way.
But yeah, the last thing I got to say about that is we just go with an assumption that people are going to eat these products straight out of the packaging. So we're going to make it as safe as we possibly can for that they're going to eat it right away. So just kind of have that in your mindset when you're doing stuff and make sure it's safe. You're going to be good. All right. Information and logs. Now, I know in tracking and documenting stuff. Now, we haven't been bothered by the government yet. Andy has, and there was a lot of stuff that he had to go over on that. So, Andy, what was that? I know we've talked about it a little bit before, but what was that like with what you had to track and everything?
Yeah, so I made a post about it. I think I commented about it before too. Is that when the government gets involved in your business, always question everything they're telling you. I mean, literally, if you have to. We've had folks come in from the health department for different things and question things, and oftentimes they're either wrong or they don't understand, or they're not educated enough on what microgreens are and how they should be classified as a product. A lot of them assume it's like sprouts, so they assume that we need to be FDA regulated. That's not the case, at least not at the moment. So, on one of the forms that they filled out for us, they actually checked off that we were growing sprouts, and I told them, no, please take that off, because I didn't want the FDA coming down on us. But the biggest thing that we found as a result of that is all the different things that we actually had to track. One of the things was cleaning records. So anytime we clean anything, we clean trays, we clean our knives, we clean the stainless tables, we sweep the floor, we mop the floor, just every little tiny thing that gets cleaned, we have to track. Unfortunately, it's a giant pain in the butt. But if you want to get to a commercial level, it's just something you're going to have no choice but to do. So that involves, the record of what was cleaned, who cleaned it, a date and time that goes along with that, and then it has to be approved by a manager or whoever. So that also has a date and time to it. And, if you store it electronically, you don't have to have an actual signature. You just have to have a method of showing that it was approved by a manager. And then you also have to have the ability to be able to give them a report. So in my case, all of ours is electronic through our software, and then I can actually export it directly to an Excel sheet that I can, email or print out or whatever for the government person that comes in. So cleaning records was one. Number two was disposal records. So if I had to throw a tray away for some reason, let's say it was riddled with mold, or if it was completely dampened off or something along those lines, I had to keep track of that. Why it was thrown away, what plant it was, who threw it away, what date and time they threw it away. Again, date and time of when it was approved by a manager or whoever. Just a huge pain, but it's just something, again, you have to do. The hope would be to have as little to no records of that at all. But we also have record of, like, if it's a tray we just flat out don't need, we've already filled all of our orders, and we can either, if we have to throw it away, which we typically don't, we'll typically harvest it and give it away to our employees. But if for whatever reason, like I was the only one working that day and everybody was off, then, I'd either take it home myself or we toss it. Just depends on what happens. Or we sample it out to chefs, which is the ideal way to do it. So you have that as an option. So that's, so cleaning records, disposal records. The third one was training records. So I have to have basically standard operating procedures, or SOPs, written for all of the different things that we do. How do you clean a knife? How do you clean a table? How do you wash a tray? How do you mix H2O2? How do you mix a xylitol solution? How do you, sweep the floor, mop the floor? I know it sounds absolutely insane, but you have to have all this crap because you have to be able to train your people. And so I have to have, those SOPs written. I have to have a way to electronically or physically on paper show that I physically trained an employee to show them all of these things. And then that employee has to, basically electronically or whatever, sign the fact that this was done. Of course, you have to approve it. It's got to be date and time stamped, the whole 9 yards. And again, you have to have the ability to generate the reports for the cleaning records, the training records, and the disposal records to be able to give to them. So basically, I did mine electronically, which is great. It's super easy. All I have to do is export the report, goes right into the database. I can export it for the entire time since we started, or I can just export a certain amount of time depending on what I want. Again, this is all built into our software recently. I'm actually still working on the SOPs because that's a giant process to write all that crap up. So I'm hoping by, we get back to them, or they come back, which probably may be not for another year or two. Then we'll have all that ready to go, and I can at least show that I trained my people on what's going on. But the cleaning records, we started right away. The disposal records, we started right away. Definitely a major time suck, but it's just, part of the process when you get big enough, unfortunately. And they're eventually going to come for you too.
I'm hiding well from them so far. And, being in Illinois, it's kind of shocking that they haven't came out and found us yet. But, we got a great relationship with the health department. So we're pretty good, fortunate with that with them. So we know the main lady over there at the health department, and she's been very good to us. So, so definitely, that is definitely the records you're going to want to start building as you get bigger and everything else. Andy's a programmer and does all that stuff and everything back on. But there's other programs out there. Maybe someday Andy will have something for all of us that we can build just for microgreens growers only. So be specific for that. But there are other programs out there if you look into like restaurants, because it's very similar to what we had to do as a restaurant. When I worked in restaurants, keep track of all this stuff, keep track of who did what, people have to check it off and sign it off electronically, put their name or whatever that they did it. There's programs out there. I can't remember all the names of them. I don't have any that I would recommend either, but there are out there if you got to do that and need it. So definitely check them out for sure. You can just look that up on the internet. So other things is using seed leaf, to keep track of, your watering schedules. It's just, it's on the schedule on the wall. If there's products on the shelf, it needs watered. When are you doing that? 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m. You want to kind of do it successfully at all the time. So we try to do it everything. First thing in the morning, we water, so that's the schedule just of doing that. We have checklists that we use, even though there's only 2 of us. We still use a checklist, a daily checklist that we made, making sure we do everything, because life gets busy. You're running a business. You're going to forget something if you don't have a checklist. So highly recommend having a checklist and make changes as you go along. It's not going to be the same as it was day 1 as it's going to be day 1,000. They're going to be different checklists, but it'll develop with you over time. So definitely look at that. Information you're probably going to need when you get bigger. And I think, I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but your seed source, your batching numbers, what your batch numbers are, planted David Hart is. I know Andy keeps really good detailed records of this, of which package was on it and everything else like that. We don't go that detailed. We keep the sheet. We keep what we bought in. We know what we bought. We keep that label until we're done making them seeds. We wait. We keep that thing until it's been a month later because all the products will be gone by then and out of the systems of every grocery store, all that. And then we get rid of that label. Even if we used all the seeds, we'd get rid of it 30 days later after we've used it. So that way we still have that batch number. If something went bad with the product with the customer, we'll know that it was from that batch. After 30 days, we get rid of it just to clean things up. But date planting and harvesting, Seed Leaf does that. Hey, what did we plant on that day? We planted 66 broccolis, 60 spicy salad mixes. We planted 15 sunflowers. It's all going to be in there. So we know what we planted on them days. So that's good. And harvesting, same way with Seed Leaf. And it keeps the records forever back there. So you can go back and look a year later of what you did, which is kind of nice. And you kind of see where you've been and what you've done. So you definitely want to get pest control measures in, especially being in a commercial space, being at home, we kind of do it ourselves. But being in the play, you want to make sure your pest control or your building that you're in has a pest control measure in place. And your sanitation protocols, like Andy said, go over, have all that. It's got to be really detailed with what he's done with. So exactly when they clean everything. So that's it's amazing. So someday we'll have a tool that's specifically for us on that. But until then, use Excel spreadsheet or a Word document and just document it all and use yourself a checklist like we do. Just it's more papers to have around. I like digital more than anything because it saves it forever, right? I mean,
oh yeah. Yeah, as a programmer, I can't stand paperwork. I'm going to do everything digitally. I
completely agree. And if I could make if I was good enough to make my checklist into a thing on the on document for electronic, I would, but I'm not that talented yet. So
you'll get there.
Yeah. So tracking and document, guys. You want to do that and start when you first start because it's going to be easier to build into it than when you're 300 trays in and trying to build something. So.
Yeah, and I can tell you from an employee standpoint, my guys have all worked here for just over a year at this point since we opened the store, and having to all of a sudden say, hey, guess what? Now we get to track everything we clean and everything we get trained on. And, it's just a total pain in the butt. They hated the transition. They've thankfully been great about accepting the fact that this has just got to be how it is, going forward. But, prior to that, we didn't do any of that stuff. So, get them used to it now. And then that way, when the health department or FDA comes along, or in our case, it was actually the Department of Agriculture that came to us and did the review or the whatever you want to call it. And it would have been nice to be able to hand them reports then and say, hey, here's our cleaning records, here's our disposal records, here's our training records. And they would have been, oh, awesome, you guys are good to go. It's not like we got dinged on it or anything because obviously we didn't know we needed it. And that's the other thing. I mean, if you have a government agency come in, and talk to you about something or whatever, it's not the end of the world. Don't go, oh my God, I'm going to lose my business or whatever. They understand that you probably didn't even realize you needed to do these things. So don't get in a full panic mode just because you may need some stuff. Obviously if they come in and you've got, moldy trays everywhere and everything's disgusting, then you better believe that you're going to get yelled at for that. But if you're doing everything the way you feel it's supposed to be done, and you're, trying to do things as clean and sanitarily as possible, sanitarily even a word, then
works.
So, yeah. So just don't be afraid of that. I mean, I wasn't worried about the inspection. I was actually excited to a certain extent about it because I was going to learn some things that we needed to do that I didn't know we needed to do. Yeah. So in the end, it was a good thing. And now we've got stuff in place, to be able to do those kinds of things. It just took time, unfortunately, to write the software to be able to do it. But, now that it's done, everything's there and it's good for life. And all the data will be there forever for as long as we need it. So, yeah, I mean, track as much as you can. Electronics is your friend for sure. Use Excel, use whatever you got to use. Even if it's for your cleaning record, just put them in an Excel sheet or something. Just have some record showing. And especially if it's just you don't have to worry about having it be approved or any of that kind of stuff. If it's you and or an owner, so like in Mike's case with him and his wife, they can certainly, just approve each other's stuff. It's not a big deal. So they don't really have to worry about keeping like detailed stuff like saying, oh, Jessica did this and Mike approved it. It could be just Jessica did it and she approved it herself because she's an owner, So you don't have to worry about approving it necessarily, but just keep track of things and it will come eventually. And I think it's not much. Joe, I don't know if he's on the thing or not, but if he is, he knows the regulations super well. Joe Naaman's Session. He's very, very good with it. He posts about it a lot in the Facebook group.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like $25,000 of sales you have to reach before you'll start to get, nailed for inspection. So just keep that in mind as you're getting bigger.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know why they haven't found us, but I'm not gonna let them know either. But like Andy made a good point. Once you do get to the level where you got employees hate change. So if you already got something in practice, it's just easier for them. They know that's what they came in with. So definitely better to start in the beginning with that. So
yeah, and even preferably have your standard operating procedures already written, before you hire your first person. I did not have that, and now I'm playing catch up with it. I just showed everybody how to do everything, but in the end, if I'm showing one person one way and showing another person, 80% of what I showed the first person, the next person didn't learn as much as the first person did.
Yep.
So, it's just not. You're better off if you have employees that just start with your SOPs. That way, that everybody's going to be doing something the way you're expecting them to do it. And if they choose not to do it that way, you can say, well, you were trained to do it this way, and then you at least got some kind of recourse to, get them to either change or kick them out the door if they're not doing the job. So, all part of the fun of having employees.
Yes, employees are fun, much needed when you get to a certain level. But they're employees, so train them right and have it set up correctly in the beginning. So let's talk a little bit about seed selection and high quality microgreens. So criteria for choosing the best seeds possible is quality, purity, germination rates, and absence of chemical treatments. Like Andy said earlier, we mentioned don't get stuff from Tractor Supply or the feed store or whatever. Them ones aren't tested. They're not meant for human consumption. They're probably going to germinate like crap, to put it lightly. But you can't track them. You're never going to know where they came from and when they're at. So high quality seeds. So you may pay a little bit more for high quality seeds, but if the germination rate's better and you're getting better growth out of them, they're well worth the extra charge of that. Right now, I'm doing an experiment with different sunflower seeds with Mums, Donny Green seeds, True Leaf, getting greener harvested sunflowers in here soon. I've done Johnny's in the past, and I know they're about the same as what True Leafs were. So I'm not going to spend the money to buy their sunflower seeds again because they're very expensive. But yeah, high quality seeds, and make sure that germination rates are good, to make sure you're getting good yield out of your products, because they don't germinate right. They're not going to yield, obviously. So trusted suppliers, certification, look for proper seed storage. Put them in buckets for long-term storage. Keep them out of light. Keep them out of extreme temperatures. You don't want to go cold, real cold, or real hot. If you're going to store them over 6 months, if you're buying bulk and you're just storing them over 6 months, you want to keep them cold at that point. But you definitely want to get them out of the cold before you start using them, get them back up to room temperature, because you will see a difference. Because I've tested that as well, coming straight out of cold, using them versus doing ones that have been at room temperature, way different germination. The cold ones did not germinate very well at all. So keeping that up. Andy, what do you got on seed selection and quality?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with all the ones you mentioned. We've used Mums and True Leaf, and I haven't used Johnny's yet, but it's only because I haven't had to. We traditionally typically use Mums as much as we can, but we're also looking at greener harvest now. We just started talking with Josh last week, so we're probably going to try out some of his stuff here soon. I've heard great things about it, just haven't played with any of it myself yet. But yeah, I mean, the whole reason why you're buying expensive microgreens is because it's been pathogen tested, beyond imagination, to make sure it's going to be safe for human consumption, that you're going to get good germination rates, things of that nature. So, to know that you're growing a quality product from a quality seed that's not going to get people sick, if you mess that up from that point forward, that's on you. But at least you started with, seed that's actually meant to be grown for human consumption, has been tested for things. So yeah, definitely spend the extra money, get good quality microgreen seed. Don't buy junk. That's basically it.
Yeah. And there's a lot of little companies out there, they're somewhat getting bought up that didn't serve good quality seeds that we've got. But I've honestly, and I know True Leaf gets a bad rap sometimes on things, but their sunflower seeds for us, out of so far the testing of the Mums and the Donnies, True Leaf has been the best yielding for us. So, and I've had no mold issues or anything like that. So if you are having that issues, hit me up, and we can go over some best practices on that and stuff. But you can also watch our how to grow sunflower seed videos as well. They're True Leaf seeds, the ones we used on them, and getting nearly 2 pounds on them. So And be careful when you're listening to somebody on YouTube when they say they're getting great yield out of like sunflowers. Make sure that's with the seed hulls off their yield, because it doesn't matter how much they weigh with the seed hulls on them. It matters how much you actually can use. So I've seen that a lot. I'm getting 2.5 pounds. Well, was that all seeds or was that actual sunflowers that you can use? So just keep that in mind when you're listening to people. But yeah, I
mean, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. You're good.
I was just gonna say, I mean, we've used nothing but MOWING's sunflower seed, and I can say from one batch to the next, I mean, there was one point we were literally getting 2.5 to 3 pounds per yield with no seed hulls from one of the awesome batches they had, and then it went back down from there. And now we're about 1.5, 2 pounds for the most part.
Yeah.
So it definitely varies seed to seed. Even the kale, like they have I think it's K1Y. Is the seed lot from MOWING's right now. Phenomenal yield. I mean, way, way, way better than any kale I ever used before from them. So, if you get a chance to get that K1Y yield from or the seed lot from MOWING's, I already ordered like 55 pounds of it because it's just so good. So, it's rare. I mean, we've been growing kale for 3 years and it's always crap. It always takes forever to germinate. This stuff is phenomenal. So you just never know. I mean, it's all based on the actual seed batch. You can get one from True Leaf that you think is going to be great, and then buy one from MOWING's, and it could be terrible, and vice versa. Yeah, it's just all over the map. The seed lot definitely makes a difference. Definitely.
The ones we just got in last order a few months ago from True Leaf on kale is great yielder. It's white Russian kale and amazing yield, great flavor, great taste. Tastes almost like broccoli, to be honest. So it's been a great seed for us, but actually getting ready to buy some kale from MOWING's. So I got it in the cart, ready to go, finalizing the order with them. So I'll test it out. Hopefully it's the K1 you got. So
yeah, I think it's KR1Y. I could be wrong.
KR1Y. Okay.
Actually, KR1Y. I just got a new bag of it, but it's out of reach, unfortunately.
No, you're fine. You're fine. You can let me know later.
Yeah.
But yeah, so great start with high quality seeds. Make sure you're storing them properly and handling them correctly and maintain the availability, then you're going to have a great product. And so if you don't start with the high quality seeds, like Andy said, it doesn't matter what you do. You're not going to get great yields. It's just not going to happen. We're struggling with some spicy salad mix from True Leaf right now. To be completely honest, it's kind of one grow is great. The next grow is not great. So, and everything else is the same. So it's definitely got to be the seeds. So definitely getting ready to contact them as well on that and let them know. See if I can get a little bit of money back. But yeah, so that's seed quality, and so make sure you get that properly and get that seeds down. Want to thank everybody who is a member of our YouTube channel. We appreciate that, and we will scroll them names down at the bottom here in a moment. And like I said, that's as little as $2.99 to join that membership. You can join that. There's another level, then there's a $9.99 level, which you get a private Discord at that point that only members of my course and members that are $9.99 level, which is harvest level, on our YouTube membership gets access to that. So, and you can contact me at any time at that point, and we'll answer questions as we can and go over things as well through there. So that is a great price, $10 to just under $10 to get access to ask questions throughout the week if you need to. So check that out. We love to add another member or two tonight. And we also will be doing a giveaway if we get 25 likes. I know we haven't hit near that in people watching yet. So make sure you share this, get people on here, let them know about it. If we get 25 likes, we will be sending out contests for that. So see who can win that. So we get 25 likes, and then we'll just let you know what we're going to give away. All right, soil management and nutrient balance. So selecting the appropriate grow mediums like a soilless mix, pro mix, coco and core, mats, or other options. There's a lot of options you can grow on, a lot of things you can do. You're going to get better yields out of some, less out of some. You also, talking about high quality seeds, you want a high quality medium as well. If you don't have a high quality medium, you can also get mold from that. You could get not great growth issues out of that. So these kind of go hand in hand for that. You may need to test, if you're doing hydroponics, you're going to need to test your pH levels your nutrient levels because you're going to have to add stuff in there. With soil, you don't have to. I'll get into some other things in a minute, but you don't have to add it. But with if you're doing hydroponic, you definitely got to add that. You got to worry about pH levels. Soils kind of balance that out for you. So we found soilless potash mix like Pro Mix or SunGrow if you're in Canada. Works great for business. Balanced nutrients are needed for ultimate growth and flavor. Many growers say that microgreens do not need nutrients, but a lot of the longer grows do, like the cilantro, with basil, and nasturtiums, carrots, celery. Anything that's 3 weeks or more, you're going to probably need to add some nutrients to get great growth out of it. You might get away with it, but we found that you need to add a little bit to get there. Address the potential soil-borne pathogens, manage the soil health, fungus gnats, dampening off, mold, cripples your business. When we first started growing, we were using cheap soil, cheap potty mix from Pro Mix. It was the cheap one. You can get it at the hardware store. And we had gnat issues. Once we went to a Pro Mix BX, 0 issues. Done. Didn't have any issues with gnats whatsoever in there. So definitely we're coming from the soil. So definitely want to check that and everything like that. So Andy, what's your thoughts on soil management and nutrients?
So with cocoa coir, I mean, it's definitely, you need to understand it's a non-nutrient based medium. So if that's what you're using, you have no choice but to add nutrients to it. If you want to get any kind of a yield, I mean, you're going to see 1/3 the height of your microgreens and 1/3 the yield at minimum. If you don't add nutrients, they still will grow, but they're going to be like an inch tall if you're lucky, versus 2, 3, 4 inches tall, depending on what you're growing. So definitely use, ocean solution or some kind of, nutrient solution that you can add in if you're doing cocoa coir straight up by itself. And we tested that, believe me. So this isn't coming from just a guess. Soil wise, we started out with Fox Farms Coco Loco, really, really liked it. We decided to switch to Pro Mix MP Organic recently, about 3 months ago or so, to try it out. It's an organic soil, which is hard to find a good quality microgreen actual organic soil. So that was kind of the one annoying thing. So now we've been playing with it for the last 3 months, and I'm probably going to switch back to Fox Farms starting this week, or I'm going to try and find some BX, which I know Mike and both Robert use. I haven't played with that one yet, so I'm going to try and find out if my local garden center can actually get BX. I'm going to buy a couple bags and give it a try. But I mean, with the MP Organic, the benefit is it's organic soil, obviously, but we were probably losing 15 to 20% yield per tray. It was cheaper, to plant it per tray, which was great. But ultimately, we're seeing some issues with certain things that we're growing that just aren't growing as well or are dying off a lot faster because it doesn't hold moisture like the Fox Farms Coco Loco did. So we're probably going to end up switching back to that this week, actually. While I was on vacation, we only have 3 bags of Pro Mix left. So at this point, we're going to switch over probably again. But I definitely want to try the BX. But again, yeah, I mean, like Mike said, you get junky soil, you're going to get junky results. You're going to get mold. You're going to get bugs. You're going to get, roots and all kinds of junk in there. I mean, it's just garbage, in the soil itself. So, when you use good quality soil, the worst thing you're pulling out is rocks, a couple rocks here and there. And then with them, especially with Pro Mix, with MP especially, tons of sticks and things like that. But it's all because it's organic matter. It just hasn't broken down in time. So it's not that big a deal to remove them. But yeah, good quality soil. Pro Mix is definitely a good one. I know Dave uses SunGrow from Micro Acres, so it's got to be a good one. I had access to it here. But yeah, any of those 3, you're going to be in great shape.
Yeah, I definitely would try SunGrow if we could get it. We tried to get it. You got to buy a ton of it to get it across that border with mixed price. For some reason, Pro Mix does it, but SunGrow just doesn't come down here.
Hopefully,
they don't like us down here.
Will. They realize there's a bunch of microgreen growers down here that want to try it out.
Yeah, for sure. But nutrients, like we don't really need to add nutrients to the soil besides for the longer grows. But now we're growing so many longer grows. We're growing the carrots. We're growing the cilantros. We're growing the basils. We're growing all them. We used to just add it to the bottom of the tray on the 2-tray method. Not the slotted tray, but on the bottom of the solid tray. You just put some of the Gaia green down there, and then when you water it, it mixes it in, obviously. But now, since we're doing so many of the other grows, we just add it straight to our soils. It's part of our process. We add it to the Pro Mix BX. So it's in all of them. We probably gained a little bit of extra boost on all the products, but this way it's just in there, it's done, and it works great for us. Andy, you add any nutrients?
Nope. We don't use any, even for the longer grows. If we find a longer grow doesn't pan out well, or it's growing too slow, or it's starting to die off like towards the end of its 3 or 4 grow or whatever, then we'll just basically plant it in a deep tray. Just give it some extra soil, got extra nutrients in there. I mean, we grow sorrel, which is, I mean, we have it growing for months, in one deep tray, and we don't add any nutrients to it at all, and it's totally fine. We just keep harvesting it; it keeps growing back. So we found that that's working pretty well. That's even with the ProMix MP Organic. So looking forward to trying it out when we get the Fox Farms back, because we never actually grew sorrel in the Fox Farms before we switched. So it's only a recent one for us, but it should be fun. But yeah, found the celery, which is about a 4 to 5 week grow, depending. Does not grow well in the MP Organic at all. We're getting our nothing yield wise, where Fox Farms is growing crazy. So that's another reason why we're going to switch back, because we definitely sell enough of the celery to make it worth it.
Nice. Yep. Yeah, deep trays work well. You probably can't see it, but they're down there. The beets, we do our beets in the deep soil, which obviously we're still adding the gaia grain in there because it goes in all of our soil, but we get great yield out of that. It's amazing yield we're getting out of that, putting the beets in the deep tray, because their root, they want more deep soil, is my theory on it anyway. We used to grow in shallow trays, and we got 3 on a great week. We got 4 ounces out of it. Now we're getting, I like to say 10 ounces, but a lot of times we get 12. So definitely a big difference. Same amount of seeds and getting, 3 times the yield. So basically the only thing we did was change it to going in a deep tray. So deep trays are useful for some things.
Did you make your beet video yet?
I got the harvest part filmed. I need to narrate the rest of it. So
you'll have at least one viewer here. I can tell you that. I hate them.
They can be a pain. They can be a pain for sure. But yeah, so high quality soil, nutrients are not needed. Watering, you don't have to worry about the pH level using soil, because it's going to be that barrier. Have you done any pH testing with your water or anything, Andy?
When we had the water filtration installed, they did the pH testing then. And we got it right, like I can't remember what it is, 4 or 5 or 6 pHs. I can't remember what the ideal number is off the top of my head for growing plants, but we got it right in that range. We installed the filtration system.
We have never tested ours, just because we haven't had any issues. So there's no need to, Yeah. But if you are having issues and that you think you've nailed everything else down, maybe you need to test your water and put a filter on it or whatever else to water them. So definitely check that out. Speaking of that, the next subject is water quality and integration packages. So sourcing water contaminants are important of using and cleaning. Filter water suitable for miscible water. Use an untested well water or rainwater can be problematic. So you definitely want to check. That has to be tested if you're on a well water. Definitely got to check that out. If you do not have suitable public water, you will need to consistently monitor the water quality with the pH, EC, or a water test, some kind of testing to make sure you got that. So if you do not have city water, you're definitely going to have to live out in the country and you got well water, whatever, you're definitely going to want to test that. You're definitely going to probably have to filter that or something on that. Integration methods, the properly moisture levels daily, watering 2 times a day, automatic water options. There's a lot of watering options, a lot of ways you can do watering. Proper cleaning and sanitation of all watering equipment, hose nozzles, buckets, cups. Don't forget about cleaning your water nozzles that you're watering. You're lifting them trays up, you're putting that water nozzle in there. It's going to get dirty. It's going to get contaminated. You don't know. So make sure you're cleaning that on a regular basis as well. A lot of people forget about that, or what buckets or cups you're using. Make sure you're cleaning that. We used a bucket and cup in the beginning, so I could know somebody might be there with that. Make sure you're cleaning that. But definitely want to make sure you're getting clean water. So if you got a filter or whatever else, depending on what your water situation is. And some city waters aren't good. You might need to check that. We've been lucky. Our water's been fine here. No issues whatsoever. But you could have, if you live in a commercial area, you live by a big industrial plant of some kind, you could have water runoff that seeps in. So definitely everybody's situation is going to be different with this. So Definitely recommend watering once a day. So having the proper soil, the soil levels, the proper medium that's going to allow you to water one time a day is, to me, critical for labor standpoints and running an efficient business. Because if you got to water twice a day, say you only need to be there for 4 hours to work if you're off site, now you got to go back or you got to stay and wait to water again. That would be annoying. Andy, I'm sure that would be annoying for you because you're off site.
Yeah. I mean, Monday we don't plant, we don't harvest, we barely do anything. It's the one day of the week. All we have to do is water and do a couple minor tasks. And I mean, I could be in and out of here in an hour, hour and a half tops.
Yeah.
And it's a giant pain to sit here all freaking day or go home and then have to come back. I mean, I'm only 10 minutes away, which isn't too bad, but to look at now is almost a half an hour away. So I can't imagine having to waste 2 hours of driving every single day just to water twice. So definitely get into the habit of watering just one time. And I did realize that we actually did, one of the things I forgot to mention earlier that the government actually wanted from the inspection was water test records. If you have public water, the water company actually has to have the water tested on a regular basis, and they provide the records for free. So all you have to do is request them. Usually they're online. We got ours right off of their website. So I can actually provide those to, the
Nice.
inspectors when they come in next time. So just keep that in mind. Obviously, if you have well water, you're going to have to get it tested, especially when you get to the point where you're getting inspected. So obviously, if I get out of here, the next space I think I'm going to be in is probably going to have well water. So I'm going to have it tested on a regular basis, unfortunately, to be able to show that it's good quality water. And then what else did we talk about in that whole mess there? So water one time a day. Sorry, I'm just reading the notes.
You're good. You're good.
Yeah, sanitize all your stuff. I mean, we use this guy right here. It's the hose link. It's 82 feet long. The problem is when I pull this guy out, the whole entire line of hose sits on the floor. So as I'm moving through and navigating through, we always keep one clean hand and one dirty hand. And that clean hand is the one that picks the trays up and does the watering. With the dirty hand, put the tray back down. This hand doesn't touch the hose, because as soon as I grab that hose for whatever reason to drag it around or move it, now that hand has become dirty. Now I'm putting my hand directly into the microgreens every single time I lift up the trays. So sometimes we'll do it with gloves on, depending on how picky we are. But for the most part, it's really just something you have to be conscious of, because we did notice for a period of time that, the front part of our trays was actually dying off, and it wasn't because of airflow or anything like that. It was literally a dirty hand grabbing the front, spraying in, and then putting it back down, and then going to the next one because we were moving the hose with our clean hand, across the floor. So even something as simple as that can be really easy to miss. But that hose there, and there's a couple hoses kind of in this mess over here, they all run off that filtered water. And the main thing we wanted to filter, the pH was actually perfect. We wanted to filter the chlorine out that the town put. We want that going into our plants. So we have that set up to, run through just these 3 hoses. There's also some hoses above me that I planned on using for automated watering. It was a total waste. So there's just these valves sitting there for no reason. But the only time we fill any of our bottles that we're going to spray stuff with for making H2O2 solution or xeritol solution, it's always out of this. That way we're always getting clean filtered water going into the plants and being sprayed on the plants no matter what. So just, some things to keep in mind as you're going through your sanitation plan and setting up your grow space to be clean and healthy.
Yes. Clean. And just a quick word on wearing gloves. I'm a big glove wearer, wear gloves. But wash your hands before you wear gloves. Still, a lot of people don't do that. See, they just think the gloves are automatically going to protect them. But if you don't have clean hands putting them on, it doesn't matter. You dirtied them. So make sure you clean your hands.
Yeah, we use just the plastic disposable gloves. Works great. They're junk. They're large, but they're a lot cheaper than buying the actual rubber gloves that you literally have to pull over, like the people in the medical field use. They're
surgeon gloves.
Yep, exactly.
Definitely want to do that for sure. All right, pest control and irrigation pest management. So common pests affect microgreens and potential damage. So you don't want pests in your microgreen area. Implementing preventative measures and regular inspections. Integrate pest management techniques, biology control, culture practices, minimal pesticide usage. You don't want to get pesticides in there. So you want to use practices that are against that. Importance of quarantine procedures for upcoming plants and grow medium. So you obviously want to keep pests out of your area. If you don't have a pest control company, we do, even though we're in home, we have a pest control company. They set up traps or whatever else they need to be around. They spray around the outside. They use chemical stuff. They use stuff that's not going to hurt our plants, because we went over that with them. So they make sure they come in and spray. They spray the outside of the house area and everything else to keep the barrier outside from them even coming in. But if they happen to come in, there's obviously traps and stuff. But definitely recommend pest control, whether you're in a home, whether you're commercial. Definitely, if you're commercial, you're going to need pest control, because you don't know what your neighbors are doing. So definitely want to do that. And you don't want pests in your place. You don't want to get a little creature that's going to get into your tray and eat your microgreens and contaminate everything. And then what trays were they in? And do you know? So just keep them out to begin with. Andy, do you have pest control measures in place?
Yeah, we do. I mean, unfortunately, literally right behind this wall behind me is a full-blown restaurant. 2 doors down going this direction is a full-blown restaurant. So, they've obviously got a lot larger potential for having animals and small, insects and whatever come in. So inside of our building, we have mouse traps everywhere. We've never caught a single one, thank God. There's even a rat trap that they put outside the back door that has never caught anything, which is also
that's
amazing.
good.
2 restaurants between us, or we're in between 2 anyway. And then we have a guy that comes in, same thing, does an interior spray, nowhere near any of the plants. It's all plant friendly stuff. It's not going to hurt anything. It's not going to make anybody sick. He doesn't spray anywhere near any of the actual plants anyway, thankfully.
Yeah.
They come in once a month, just do a treatment. And we are basically insect free, other than, little fungus gnats here and there that will come up, but it's very rare. And it's usually only on long-term grows. But one of the easiest ways to keep fungus gnats under control is just get your harvested trays out of your grow environment, get them outside. And then that way, if you have 14-day or less plants that you're growing across the board, you should never, ever, ever see fungus gnats unless you have garbage soil. They don't have enough time to even get established, because even if for some reason you had clean soil and one fungus gnat managed to work its way inside and lay eggs in your dirt, by the time that 14 days is up and you've harvested your plants, that tray is out the door before they even have a chance to hatch. So it's almost impossible for them to even get started, as long as you keep it that way. If you harvest your trays and you let them sit on a shelf for a month and a half before you take them outside, or even 2 to 3 weeks before you take them outside, you're going to have gnats that are going to get in. It's just part of the process. But you want to keep them down to a minimum as much as you can. We use those little yellow traps if we see any. We'll just set one out near the trays that are the problem. Usually it's like celery or sorrel, because they're just really long-term grows. We'll see some pop up here and there, but other than that, it's not too bad. But yeah, as far as overall pests, I mean, our pest management that we have come in and does the spraying stuff, I mean, it works perfectly well, and never have any problems. Can you not hear me?
So I think we lost Andy's sound there, so we'll get him back in. But yeah, make sure your sanitation with pest control is definitely a key to doing that. Keep them out. Don't ever let them come in. So, or is that me? Can you guys hear me?
I don't know.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay. Well, good. You can hear me. I can barely hear you. So maybe that's an issue. But yep, definitely keep pests out so you don't have a problem. Keep them in. What we do with our trays, we have bins. When we dump out a tray, we finish cutting the tray. We dump out that trays immediately into a bin, and then they're out. And when that bin's full, we put the lid on it. So that way, during even harvest, we don't even have an issue with that sitting around. So definitely keep that in mind for doing that. It's just a best practice there. So I'm glad everybody can still hear. Thank you. Awesome. So let's get into sanitation and hygiene practices. We briefly have mentioned this throughout this talk, obviously, as we go, but establishing a cleaning sanitation protocol. So checklists are great for this. Time to clean stuff for equipment, tools, grow areas. Andy talked about his employee training, how he's had to do that with everything. So personal hygiene. Speaking of that, make sure when you hire somebody, if you're doing that hiring, that they wear clean clothes when they come into a place, because honestly, that can be a problem sometimes. So that's part of personal hygiene, come in with clean clothes and everything. Good manufacturing process, prevent cross-contamination, spreads pathogens. So, you don't want any of your chemicals getting over into your plants that you're cleaning with or anything like that. So make sure that regular facility maintenance, pest proofing procedures, all of that stuff goes into this. So sanitation is highly key. Cleaning your trays, not just spraying them out and getting most of the dirt out. I know there's a lot of growers that do that. Make sure that you're cleaning them completely. I scrub every single tray that we do. I got a scrub brush, scrub every single tray, sanitize them, and let them dry, and then put them away. Do they dry 100% completely? No. But they're blown off, and the majority of the water is off before they get put away. So that's how we do it. Andy, what do you got on that?
Yeah, so we do the same thing. We scrub every single tray. Everything gets washed every single time it's used, and we sanitize everything. And that's the last thing we do. So after we scrub, we get all the debris off, make sure everything's clean, go through the sanitation solution, and then we just put them on the tray or on the racks here to my left, I guess, to your right if you're watching, and just let them air dry. And ultimately, even if you put them away wet and they're sanitized, it's not that big of a deal because they're wet with sanitizing solutions. So it's not like, you can stack them together. You're not going to create any issues because you're basically creating a perfect environment anyway. And even Chris Thoreau, I've seen him comment about the fact that he puts them away wet after he, sanitizes them. He doesn't even bother air drying them, just throws them right in the stack and runs with it. So there's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, here's my little dry racks. These are just 18-inch deep. I don't put any shelf liners or anything on there. So they would just stack them up real good. I know, I can't remember if it was Joe or Victor or one of you guys, had posted something on the Microgreen group that you kind of took the method we were using instead of stacking them all like, pyramid like, we just jam them in there and get them really nice and fit. So we can fit a ton on these 2 racks that we have to my left. So it works out great. But yeah, sanitize for sure. Sanitize for sure. If you skip that step, you might as well not even bother washing them, because ultimately the sanitation is what's really gonna keep everything under control, and we use aerosol for that. So
Definitely is key to that. I think we've covered everything we had scheduled for today. So in recap, emphasize the importance of quality control, food safety in your microgreens operations. We encourage you guys to definitely make sure you follow sanitation, health practices, keep your facilities clean and safe, and ensure that you're providing high quality products to your consumers, and keep growing your business, because one bad thing could knock you out of business, and we want you all to thrive. Any last words, Andy?
no, I totally agree. I mean, just if you think it's overkill for cleaning and sanitizing, no matter what it is you're doing, there's no such thing as overkilling when it comes to cleaning and sanitizing. I mean, be as clean as you possibly can. I mean, a lot of people, like Mike said earlier, they won't even wash their hands, just throw gloves on and say, okay, I'm protected. Well, you just touch that clean glove with your dirty hands. It doesn't do any good. So wash your hands first, put gloves on. If your gloves end up with a puncture for whatever reason, then, change out your gloves, wash your hands again if you have to. It's not that big of a deal. It takes 2 seconds to go over and do it right, because it's so important. I mean, ultimately for the entire industry, to keep us at a level where we are regulation wise. I mean, sprouts were not regulated that heavily in the beginning, and now they horrendously are, because at one point, somebody did some bad things and a bunch of pathogen things got, released with a bunch of different sprouts. And as a result, now it's a heavily regulated industry, so and it's only because of people that did things the wrong way. So if we as a whole and as a total microgreen community do everything right from day one, then we're all going to prosper as a result, because it'll all make the things a whole lot easier. We won't have to go through all the extra crap, that the government wants us to do, and all the regulations. So just keep things simple, but keep things clean, keep things concise. Write your SOPs if you have to, even if it's just for you. I mean, like Mike said, he and his wife, they use a checklist every day, and sometimes it's what you need. You may easily forget. I can't even tell you how many times we've forgotten, and me, planted like 12,000 trays at this point, but I'll sometimes forget to do something, and one of my employees thankfully would catch me and get on me about it. So it's not out of the ordinary to put together a list and make sure you're doing everything the way you're supposed to. It's best practices. That's really what it boils down to.
Definitely. All right. So we're going to get into the Q&A session now for everybody who's on here live and not on the replay. We appreciate you guys all tuning in. And if you are on the replay, make sure you watch all of our ThumbCast videos, our one that's best for you. And we now get into the Q&A. Thanks you guys for watching. And I will be right back. So if Andy can handle maybe the first question.